Ba-na-na-na-na-na. Ta-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Yes, welcome again to pIAR Virtual Studio Tour. Today we are hosting two amazing artists who are also part of a collective. Oh, they are already here. In fact, I would say their names are so difficult for me to mention, but I'm going to play some gambling. So let's see. We are welcoming Abdulnur Akyüz from Turkey and Lebanon. So if I mention the name right, Abdulnur, when you come, you clap for me. And then after Abdulnur, we will be having Monica A. Quijano. So welcome, Abdulnur, also with the Instagram handle ID Collective.
Hello.
Right.
I have to clap for you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. How have you been doing?
I'm doing fine. What about you? It's going
I'm
well.
doing pretty good.
So how's Ghana?
Yeah, and Ghana is really good. We are surviving.
We are all in the same together.
Hold on, check this. Shut up for me. All right. So where are you currently?
I'm currently in Beirut, in Lebanon. The
Mm-hmm.
airport is closed, so I couldn't go back to Turkey. So right now I'm here in Beirut with my family, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for to reopen.
So how long have you been locked down there?
Actually, since 8 March, the lockdown started in 8 March, but I couldn't go out till maybe yesterday. It was the first time that I went out with my mask and everything.
So yesterday was the first time since
Yeah,
8th of March.
yeah. I couldn't even I was driving and I was like missing a lot of details on how I'd like to drive. So it was a little bit weird to see people and so on.
Wow, that sounds interesting. So tell us how has it been with you in this confinement?
It has been like pretty good, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of work, and some of work were harder than ever because, as you know, I'm an architect and also an artist. So, in the art part, it was fine. We performed at home instead of performing outside. But
Mm-hmm.
there was problems like the architecture projects because you cannot go to the site, so you have to use your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But even in performance art, it was a little bit hard because, to be honest, I personally do not prefer to perform indoors. I prefer to perform outdoors to feel the nature more, like the the sand, the wind, the sea, the water. These elements aren't found inside, so you have to go outside to perform and feel the nature.
Wow, that brings us to your practice. How does your practice look like? How does your performances and your architectural works, how do they look like?
Actually, there's like this. I did the same one, the same concept of both performances. One, it was outdoor in January here in Beirut, and the one
Mm-hmm.
in April, it was indoor. So you can see the difference between having the same, almost the same concept of performance outside and inside. You have to take a lot of into consideration the space that you have. So when you are performing outside, it's more like you are free first, and plus like you can see the people, you can feel them, you can feel the, as I said, the nature. Meanwhile, at home you have to create everything. So even the light was artificial. There was no one to see how you are performing, so it was just the camera and you have to perform. So yeah, it was a little bit difficult for me. But in Beirut, unfortunately, to perform in outdoor, you need like sort of permit from the municipality. And for many times, the municipality refused to give you these kind of permits. Like last time, I wanted to perform in January here in Beirut. They didn't give me the permit to perform because they said there's some sort of security reasons not to do it. And it was like a little bit funny because art doesn't have any like sort of security reason not to do it. So here we have this kind of political stuff that we talk about. Like when you want to break the borders, it doesn't mean just to have connections between cities. Sometimes breaking the borders is also breaking the labels, breaking the laws, and also breaking habits that we already have.
Yeah, so yeah, that sounds interesting. So you are from originally from Lebanon and Turkey?
No, I'm Turkish, but I studied in Lebanon, and I live.
So a Turkish, but you only studied in Lebanon.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's a big space. They're very close.
That means I have to ask the question because I was going to ask the question: how does your origin of Turkish Lebanese influence the way you think about identity? Because I also realize you play a lot with this identity politics.
Exactly. The way, not the way, like how I started my art, it was because I was feeling inside of me the feel of belonging or not. Like I was sometimes feeling I belong to Turkey because that's where my father come from. I have the Turkish passport and so on. And then at the same time, I was born in Beirut. I studied in Beirut, and my mother actually is Lebanese. But in the Lebanese law, only the father can give you the citizenship. So I do not have the Lebanese citizenship. And this one of the things that I usually criticize about the Lebanese law, which means like only the man can give the citizenship. Meanwhile, we are all born from the mothers and not from the father. So that's basically bullshit for me, like to say that you are not Lebanese just because your father is not Lebanese. So that's how it started. And then I felt at some point of my life that I don't even belong to any country. So I just felt stateless. And when I felt stateless, I thought of people who are stateless and doesn't belong to any country, and the struggle that they live without passports, without documents. And here I did my second project, and then my third one, it was the first time I performed. And it was really great because I performed in Beirut, the city that I was born in, and I performed with Turkish artists who comes from the same background as me. So, and then I fell in love with performance art because I felt that performance art connect between my creativity, my body, and everything that I want to say. Because like in my first time I performed, I was very scared, to be honest. I was asking one of the mentors if I should script this. Should I write everything down, like my steps? What should I do? Like, I was so nervous. So I think I told them about the idea. And then when I had to perform, I did something completely different. So after the performance, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, like, I just felt my body wants to do this, and I did it right away. Like, I couldn't even think about doing this step before this step. So this connection of body and creativity, I liked it more. So I kept doing more performances, and so far, like, I have been doing great. And then I wanted to stop feeling about this belonging feeling. I wanted to go to something very personal, which the labels that we have mostly in all around the world, but usually in the Middle East, we have so much prejudgment about people, like how they look, how they do act in society. So that's why I went to something more about activism, artivism, and I was so happy with this step in my life.
Wow, that's quite interesting how you begin with performance. Of course, that is the freedom that most of us employ and also explore in performance art. the liberty, the spontaneities, and the chances. So, so some of us, these are very powerful instruments in developing performance practices. So I'm glad to hear also that for you, you could write something down and could perform something different, allowing those chances to play their own roles. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
want to ask again. Yeah, I want to ask again. So how do you connect performance to architecture?
that's a very good question, because like people always say that I come from a different background, but in fact I see it very differently. Because when we are studying architecture, we learn the importance or the proportion of the body inside the space, and that's exactly what performance art is. Like performance art isn't just acting or dancing or like screaming or what people think. Performance art is having your body, which is the main element sometimes, most of the time, and then you have all this space. So to feel this space, architecture helped me so much to feel the space, to understand more the nature, the landscape. For example, if you are inside four walls, it's different than being on the sea. And it's very different if you are on the mountains. So here, architecture helps you to understand your space and to deal with it, because it's important in performance to deal with every element around you. And that's how
Yeah,
architecture is mixed with performance art.
good. I don't know whether it's the same for many performance artists, but I do say that you cannot perform pretending the environment or the elements around you do not exist. So this is why also I think you mentioned that you did the same performance or similar performance in an outdoor
And
space
indoor.
and indoor, and saw the difference, because we cannot pretend existing in an empty space or existing in a vacuum. So yeah, so I think, like you're saying, there is a very strong relationship between the things that are around the art, the architecture, the plants, or the natural environments,
Exactly.
also emphasize or re superimpose some kind of forces on our bodies when we perform.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I want to know how you came also to develop or to found this ID collective.
Yeah. Okay. So it was like this. Like we never met before. Me and Monica, we were never met before. We never saw each other. We even didn't work with each other. So we met on Behance platform. It was like social media platform as artists, and we were talking for like months, and then we decided one day there was the Lebanese revolution here in Lebanon, and I was feel kind of like helpless and sad. So I was talking to her like 3 a.m. and we decided to do something about this. And then we were talking about the borders. And for example, I live in Turkey. All countries around me aren't accessible because the borders are closed. So I need a visa, for example. Meanwhile, to go to Colombia, I don't need a visa, but it's very far away. There are like a lot of borders. And then we thought about more borders, which are the social borders that actually create the distance between each other. So we wanted to have this dream with we can just erase all the borders in the world, not just political one, like everyone. So why we thought about performance art to do it like as a collective of performance art, because performance art doesn't have border. It's like probably the only art media that doesn't have borders. Because you, as I said before, you can dance, you can act, you can scream, you can stay silent, you can even be there or not. You can have it live, you can have it without audience, with the audience. So you have this kind of freedom, which performance art gave a lot of freedom to the artist to break all the borders. He doesn't even need someone to tell him that you are not a performative artist because you do this. So he doesn't need this. And that's why we didn't like go to other kind of arts. We picked just performance. And actually Monica is one of the greatest performance artists that I ever seen. So yeah, that's one. And two, back to the borders that we talked about, I have this kind of people, human nature, they love.
That's from your internet, or mine is frozen? Which of us?
Okay.
Which of us is frozen? Is it you, or I am frozen?
Actually, I'm on my mobile data. I'm not using Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So okay, so we were talking about the borders, and I said that human nature, they like deep inside to create borders, because even our bodies, we create a sort of bubble around it, and sometimes these borders are actually accessible, sometimes not. So the borders we talk a lot about, it's not just like having borders between countries. There are culture borders, social borders that actually prevent us from talking to each other. And once these borders are having a lot of layers of these borders, and like we will go to a point that we won't even able to reach ourselves anymore, because we are creating so much border with each other, and that's really bad. And between me and Monica, we are coming from very different backgrounds, different cities, different life, but we could join in this performance art, and we broke all the borders in order to create ID Performative Collective.
Yeah, so there's a comment here from, what's the name? Bedide. I'm not sure if I'm mentioning the name well, but he or she is saying that performance has a high, or is on high demand, because people get to experience it live. Yes, I think I agree that performance in itself is the totality of being alive. And it is the
also connects you with the
symbolic,
audience as well.
yeah, and it is also the symbolic representation of our being.
Exactly. Like when
so
you're connecting with
so I agree.
So a piece of yourself to this audience. Sometimes when you are doing performance in public space, for example, in the last time that I did performance, some people were just walking on the sea, and they were interested to see what's going on, and they were coming each time just to see what's happening. So this kind of curiosity you give in performance art isn't always available in such other fields.
Okay, so that brings us to another important question. In time of confinement, where the entire world is at pause, or we have shut down, the only way to interact with people is via the internet or the tech space, which is also very virtual. How do you conceive performance as so different from a movie or a video?
Yeah, do you mean if I prefer like to see it as video in front of me or live? The difference between seeing both?
Yeah, so now we can watch video like we are talking.
Yeah, all right, okay.
The only difference is that we may assume, I would use the word that assume, we may assume that we are in real time, you know, but then whether it is recorded or not, we can still watch it and watch exactly what happened a year ago, a month ago, a week ago. But then performing live, you are seeing the exact thing that you would have seen maybe the next day or after a few days. You are just seeing it at the same time. How will you, what's your reflection on this idea of performing in a virtual space without physical audience?
It's not really as, it's very different. Like when you're performing with audience, it's always more meaningful, like to perform inside of the screen, in front of the screen. So I prefer like to have audience, and not just, also for me, it might be the same, like people are already watching, but the reaction that sometimes people give to you, and as I said, there's something important in performance art, which is interaction. As much as we can interact in the virtual world, but the interaction in reality is different, and I like that. Like sometimes in my first performance, for example, I suddenly gave one of the audience a part of the one that I had on my scarf that I had on my shoulder, and he actually he held it all the time, and I was going between the trees and he was still holding this scarf. And it was really important because after the performance we had like sort of talk, because we can't interact. Meanwhile, when I performed online a few months ago, it was like I had to watch like the video, and then I saw the people commenting and their reactions. And actually I wasn't very comfortable to perform online, which I prefer to go live in reality.
That's interesting. Monica is just writing something. She said, you are in the future, seeing us from Colombia. Yes, so that is why I also use the word, we could also assume that we are in real time, but it's also, when we look at it conceptually, we are actually in so many different times. Some people are watching the same conversation that we are having. They are watching it in future, and some people are watching it in past. So so this can be, so even though you are present, there is a certain sense of past and future in our existence when we look at the experience of virtual activities.
This one was one of the conceptual work that we were working on it with ID Performative Collective before the COVID-19. We were thought like we want to have a sort of performance where we are all performing, like many artists are performing at the same time, like GMT, but different in their time zone. So it could be night in Beirut, it could be in the morning in Colombia. So this kind of thing that we wanted to share in ID Performance Collective, but then COVID-19 happened and we couldn't like go outside and do this experience.
Yeah, I'm really impressed the way the two of you have come with this ID Collective and looking at it from different, like bringing things from different angles and trying to put them in one box and reflect on them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see. I'm looking forward to see what will happen after COVID-19.
Like people are always shocked on how we did performance, ID Performative Collective. Like everyone would say, you surely met before or have been worked with each other. So no, we didn't even know each other like maybe for 3 months, and we just did it. Like it was just one night, and we said we want to do this ID Performative Collective, and we started. It was a good start, actually. I'm very happy to be part of ID because right now I believe that ID Performative Collective is my home, and I feel very safe and comfortable, especially that Monica is doing a great job by doing some political acts in Colombia, and I am doing political acts in Lebanon and Turkey. So in case we are in jail next year, we'd like to see you on live.
Sure. So, so can you share with us some of the stuff that you have developed, whether they are just writings, drawings, thinking processes, and the rest during this 3 months since the 8th of March until now?
I did one performance art indoor, of course, with ReConnect Online Festival, and then I did an art talk with Body and Perform in Istanbul. Also, it was online. And then we have now this pIAR virtual talk, and I was watching you all this month, and I was very happy because I learned from a lot of people during this virtual tour, and some of them were very inspiration to me. So basically, I had so much architectural work. I couldn't focus so much on performance or even paintings or other things. So I did the pre-judgment performance in March. No, it was in April. It was in April with this ReConnect Festival. It talks about like in life, people just give you a judgment based on what they see, but not what's inside of you. So as a personal experience, when I go to any country, when people start asking about my nationality, my religion, they always give a judgment, and sometimes I usually do not reply when sometimes people ask me, what's your religion? I just don't say, what's my religion? Not because I am ashamed or embarrassed. It's just like it's very personal to me. So one of the reasons why I did this kind of performance, because people, when I say that I come from Turkey, I'm Muslim, so they go and link terrorism to this kind of nation and religion, and also like other parts of prejudgment we do like in life, like people always just want to judge each other. And in the last one, I added a sort of visibility to people who change gender, because in Lebanon, it's not allowed to change your gender on your passport. So they face a lot of difficulties, because if they want to leave the country, they will be in jail because their passports say something else, because your passport might say you are this gender and then you look very different. So they don't even give them the right to have jobs, to live even, it's very bad. So during the confinement, these people were very in trouble because they don't have income, they don't have jobs to work online. And as I said, they cannot even leave the borders because they don't have matched ID with their real identity. So I added this visibility to trans people in my last performance art.
Good. Yeah, that brings me back to a reflection when you first contacted us, and I read also that you are Turkish. It took me straight into the past because Turkey was one of the first bad experience for me, where I was detained in 2016 just because of gender fluidity. And maybe you are from Turkey, so you will know better how life could be for people like us in Turkey. And then I developed a project called Invisible Body. So, and reading your project, and I saw the invisible borders. So it was like, so it was just sending me back into this space at the airport. Yeah. So when we have personal conversation, I'll share more of this with you. Maybe there might be some kind of interest for you to begin to investigate and also question some of the things that are happening from the space that you are coming from. Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you had this bad experience.
Yeah, I'm willing to share with you. Yeah.
Hopefully it won't happen again, because we are always able to change laws, culture, and everything. It can change. We just need to be more powerful and raise the voice instead of just shutting down.
Yeah. That is the hope that artists artists and activists would change this world for those who are yet to be born, because there are people who are yet to be born that like there is no provision for their existence.
Yeah, but sometimes people fall in this kind of trap, like some activists, they fall in this trap. In order to change, you don't just have to be in contact with these people. For example, if you want to do something about the LGBT, you don't only have to bring people from this community to talk about this project. It's fine to bring someone who's straight, for example, to talk about it, which is more powerful, because you are bringing someone who doesn't share the same opinion as you, and you are trying to bring him to your side, you are trying to convince him. And this is more powerful. We need to stop like just doing, okay, we support this cause, and then we bring someone who's already have done a lot to this cause. We have to bring new faces, new artists who doesn't been in this cause, and try to expand our circle. So because you have 3 circles in life, you have people who support your cause, and you have natural people who are indifferent, and then people who are against you. So to beat this against you, you already have these people who already agree. So why do you always address to them? You have to go to natural people, to the indifferent. Try to bring them on your side, and then we can have 2 against 1, and then maybe we can beat other people.
2 against 1. That's quite interesting. Thank you so much for this inspiration. Yeah, I'm looking forward in meeting you in person. Let's see if the COVID is gone. Yeah, pIAR is open and we'll be opening a call for 2021 residency. Those who were not able to come for the 2020, they have already placement for 2021, but there are some few slots. So once it's open and you are interested, just file your application. We will embrace you here.
Ghana is always in the heart. That's for Martin. He loves it so much.
I was going to play the national anthem for you.
Actually, I like your voice so much. So you should have. The first time I was watching your live, you were singing for your mom, and it was very amazing, actually.
Wow! Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I always do that. Yeah, I always sing to my mom. Yeah. So we wish you all the best, and looking forward to hearing from you again. On the today is Friday, right? On Sunday, it will be an open day for questions. So you'll be hosting the host. So all of you will be hosting the host. So I'm just going to be there, and then everybody can ask questions. My personal life, my practice, anything you want to ask.
That's great.
You'll be welcome to ask. So on Sunday, I'll be here for 1 hour or even more for questions, so that I'll also be answering you instead of questioning you.
Great. That's great.
Yeah. Stay safe.
And hugs from Beirut.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So inspiring. Artists are actually healers. They are spiritual beings that can touch you in the heart and in the soul. So now we would be welcoming Monica, also known on Instagram as M4Kilo. Yeah. So Monica. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Sure. I just finished speaking with Abdulnur. Yeah, so I think we'll begin with the question that relates to the two of you. Yeah, how did you come in co-founding ID Collective?
Well, it was weird indeed because we were just having our own portfolios, and then it's like a kind of portfolio media and also social media. And over there, I think I commented one of the works of Abdulnur, and I really was shocked because it was a very beautiful work, and also it's not so frequent to find performance works in portfolios. So I commented and we began talking, and it was a beautiful sharing. So we started talking, and it was very interesting because we just talked about performance. We didn't talk about anything else. Like we weren't asking each other what's your age, what's your religion, which are your sexual preferences, or nothing like that. We just talked about performance, and that was a very spiritual connection, very like anything, not like anything else I had lived before. So it was great. It was great, and that's what that was the origin of ID.
Good. You are originally from Colombia. Yeah. So how did you find it in terms of social relationship and ideas that you both bring together in this collective, coming from different cultural backgrounds and also different political backgrounds?
Well, it was interesting because even though these are two very different cultures. We share common struggles, common trouble in our countries, because even I think my country is a double standard country. It's like over here it looks like there is a freedom of speech, freedom of choice, but that's not so true. Government has done a good job on silencing people, and I think artists are well aware of this, but we are like separated. So I think that's what joined Abdulnur and me, because we were worried about the same things. We were just like sad because as over there were protests, over here it became a big movement again against the government, and we were doing performance about that, and that's what we shared at that time.
So what are some of the projects that you have already worked on?
Well, together we've just joined a few callings. It's sort of virtual. To this point, it's just virtual, but we are planning to launch as soon as we can a collective project, calling for most people, because we also think that it's not just about performance artists, but about every people. Also we think anyone can join an artistic movement, because the art is inside of us. I think it's very important to know that all people have those possibilities, those talents, and we wanted just to see what happened if we launched the project, just not with artists in mind, but other people, all kind of people.
Yeah, is that a project called Falso Positivo? Positivo. Okay. What language is that?
That's Spanish.
Spanish. Okay.
Yeah. But the term is let's tell a political term, because over here in Colombia there are killings done by the government, but they are not recognized as war crimes, and they were some organizations began to call them falsos positivos, or false positives, that I think most countries are known just because just like medical terms, but over here it's a political term. And and I did this first project. It started 2019 in the protests that were carried on since November. And yes, that's a project that has just started. We have so much to do, and because of COVID, we had to stay here and wait.
Yeah. So tell me, during the COVID-19, you have just been in your own confinement. What have you been doing?
Well, I've been working a lot on that project. I think we are gonna make an installation of it, because it was interesting, because we tried this to be a collective project, joining as much people as we could, not just the group, but other people. There were friends joining us, and also other people. Even at Bogota, we had a beautiful experience with the Mingas team, that is a collective also. But we realized that it was hard, because we needed so many mirrors, so many work to be done, and we just couldn't reach so many people. So we thought it could be an installation, so it could get the, I don't know, the dimension we wanted for it to have.
Yeah. Can you share with us your background into becoming an artist?
Well, I didn't begin studying arts. I sort of went through lots of careers before, but I couldn't do anything of those careers. It was just like in my heart. I knew I wanted to be an artist. And so finally I went through that passage from domesticity to a career life, and I began studying arts. And well, that was awesome. It was at Bogota, Universidad Nacional. And over there, I learned a lot with great professors. And well, I thought performance wasn't really an option for me. But then, like magic, like I think performance is some sort of magic. I began to do performing, even so I didn't know really what was I doing then. Now I think it's really important. It's very it's a language that is not like any other. It's great because the body
Good.
is the best.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. So similar question I asked Abdulnur was that what is the reflection, or what are your reflections on performing in confinement or in indoor and performing in public spaces?
Well, it's to me it's like ambivalent because I've been always like some sort of isolated because of my bringing up, because of my family uses. So it was kind of weird when I began doing performance in public because I was used to a sort of confinement because of familiar stuff. So it's not been different really. I think the important thing about performance is that you build in a space and you make it grow with you. You begin to express spatially and also spiritually. So even though you are maybe isolated, you eventually develop connections and links in various forms. If as well, equally, if you're sharing it in that present moment, that if you share it after this. And I think the reflections that come from that work, even if it's isolated or if it's in a public space, I think it's equal, because I think performance is connected to our personal private life. I think we all do performance all day, every time. We're always performing. Since we dress ourselves, since we wake up, in our prayers or in our secret ways of doing things, or we somehow are always performing. And that's interesting because when you show it, then it's like other people come and join those private ways and uses.
Yeah, so I saw also one of you writing that because of the political dimensions of your practices and the context in which you are actually loading them, you may be arrested soon.
Huh?
You may be arrested soon.
Arrested?
Yes.
Huh?
I think I saw that written by Abdulnur. Yeah. So, what are some of the fears? Some of your fears in being arrested or being confronted by the political groups?
Yes, in fact, it is funny because I don't think too much about that. And people tell me, oh, that's because you don't really know nothing about politics and about authorities. But when you get caught, it will be very bad. But I just think it's something that comes from the heart. I think if we need to express, if we need to struggle and go along with people, that's the most important thing, and we don't have to think too much. I think COVID situation has brought this thing of fear back, and people are fearing so many things. They are like entering a panic and chaotic state, and I think that makes no good to anyone. And that's the same thought I have. Well, of course, I make jokes about being caught and about the police. I don't judge the police because I know they are humans also. But I think we need to question authorities, and we need to take a stand about all the wrong stuff that's happening in all the world. So well, I hope I don't get caught. But if we have to be there, then
But are you ready? You hope not to be caught, but are you ready to endure any military arrest?
well, I thought about it, and I think I could use a lot time in jail if I get there. And also think that we need to be close to people that are in those situations. So if I get that direct contact with that people, it will be also nice. Anyhow, I think I need to do much more. I've been just talking and thinking, but I think there's a time when we need to do much more than just protesting and saying things.
Yeah, I will say you are a fighter. That is interesting. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, what are some of you spoke about the COVID-19 bringing us back into the envelope of panic that many of us are just developing a strong sense of fear and panic. I would also say that some of the structures that are being built during this COVID-19 in battling the virus may remain and will end up battling human beings after, especially some of the policies and constitutions that have to be amended in a way that they can confine people, they can control the citizen. I wonder if those things are going to be dismantled after the virus has been fought. So for political artists like you, what are some of the things you are already reimagining, because you may not have the same privilege to speak and to do as you were before COVID-19, because we are going to another world?
I hope consciousness and awareness in people gets to a higher level, because we need to be strong and we need to unite. Because I sort of think this as a corona hostage. I think they are keeping us apart, and they have found a way to keeping us apart, and that's very worrying. I think that's bad news for us, because we need to unite, and I don't know, I don't see an easy answer to this, because it's a time of so much pressure, and people are fearing I don't know, there are so many conspiracy theories and so much media manipulation, and I think that we must go to the core, maybe in our hearts, maybe trying to think the most basic but most true, the things that are true for ourselves. And we need to, I don't know, I just have heard a lot of comments about this, and I think as many people who are independent media say, it's important we begin to build communality, to build strong links with people around, also trying to help as much as possible, and trying to do our own ways of living. Maybe trying to separate from, I know that's not easy, but I don't know, that trying to do our own gardening and our own food, basic things, also building a strength in between the families and people around, so we can begin to fight those things in the most basic scale, because at a bigger scale, it's a big monster. And it's not COVID, but governments and corporations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's
So
it.
yeah, in doing all this, have you collaborated with other groups of artists or other disciplines?
Well, it's sad because I think we're not so connected in Colombia. Hopefully, I found lastly nice groups, but maybe as Abdulnur said, sometimes collectives are also so narrow, and they close themselves up, so they don't allow people to connect. And I think it's also a problem that politics get in the middle, and maybe people begin to fight because of ideologies, and they miss the point. And so it's been difficult, but this year we connected with Mingas, a great group here in Colombia, and it was a great experience. And I also went to Chiapas in a short trip to Mexico, and it was great because I learned a lot from the Zapatistas. It was very short, and I must confess I am not great at politics nor that kind of stuff. I'm mostly an artist, but it was a great experience because knowing that community strengthened and built a separate community that is fighting against government and against the exploitation is great. So over there I learned a lot. And over there it was weird because over there I met people from Colombia. We were in Mexico, but we met other Colombian people, and it was great. They were indigenous people from the Cauca, and I think if not by COVID, I would be doing something with them right now. But I'll wait. I'll wait.
Yeah, good. Yeah. So I think, like you are mentioning, yes, collectives can be sometimes very complacent in a way that some political ideologies differ, and therefore people do not make room for other people to infiltrate or to become part of if they don't share the same political vision. So yes, I understand this could be the difficulties finding yourself in collectives and working with other groups of collectives. Yeah, but one way or the other, like Abdul is writing, art is all about connection, communication, and it is also about pushing boundaries. Okay, yeah, so the internet just just vanished. So yeah, I think yeah. So my last question before you leave, uh, what would you after the COVID? I know you already spoke about the project you're about to launch, uh, but apart from that project, what other projects are in the pipeline for you?
Well, my most important project is to keep connecting, to keep working with ID. We want to launch a project soon, and also in knowing you, I think I would like to be one day in Ghana also. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing what you have done, and I also we were like very surprised and loved each one of your statements. Also, I think that's the most important thing to keep on growing with in connections and trying to bring people together. Also, I have a project with painting because I also do painting a lot, and that's like a series of paintings. I hope to by the end of June to have like 20 paintings that I've been working on it, with the theme of Chiapas, and then I don't know, I want to explore painting more and also performance. And pues the most important thing about this painting is that I try to work with materials that are from my region and ephemeral materials. I was very interested in that in your last interviews because I saw so many artists working with great materials and I love them. So that's one of my biggest projects, and that's why I was so curious and asking questions about that.
Thank you very much, Monica and ID Collective. We are so grateful having you and looking forward in connecting physically after the COVID-19. Keep following our update and join us tomorrow is the last session. And on Sunday, I will be here online. You can ask me any question that you want to ask, and then I will answer. So Sunday, it will be an open air, and you'll be hosting the host. So I'll sit for any question to come, and I'll just answer.
What time? What time?
It will be at that time, 4 p.m. Ghana time.
Okay. Thank you so much. Big hugs.
Kisses, and stay strong.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ghana time, we have Lord Ohini Kuma will be joining us from Netherlands. Yeah, Amsterdam, Netherlands. And then we have Kur Chimuk will be joining from Howrah, India. So Ohini will join 4 p.m. Ghana time, which will be 6 p.m. in Amsterdam. And then Chimuk will join 4:30, which would be 10 p.m. in India. So we look forward in seeing you all. Wishing you all the best. Stay safe and take care of yourselves. Again, tomorrow is the last session for this long marathon of 34 days. And then on Sunday, I will sit here for questions and answers. Come along, ask me any question. Those that I want to answer, I will answer. If I'm not answering any, just force me. Maybe I just want to play some games. So all the best and take care. Bye.